Wilhelmina and Walter Riddell. The farmer's daughter and joiner's son from Dumfriesshire, who set out for New Zealand as newlyweds and prospered as pioneers on Otago Peninsula. Wilhelmina Brown Glendinning was born in 1837, the fifth child of James Glendinning and Elizabeth Bryden. Her father was a substantial farmer, employing numerous labourers here at Overcassock Farm near Eskdalemuir in Dumfriesshire, where the family had lived for generations. Nonetheless, the Glendinnings were still only tenants on their land, and with such a large family, opportunities in rural Scotland were limited. Wilhelmina's future very much depended on who she might marry. She made a good choice in Walter Riddell, who grew up in nearby Allan Gilfoot, about 11 miles south on the other side of Eskdalemuir. Walter followed in his father and brother's footsteps and became a joiner, a trade that would set him up for life pretty much anywhere. He spent 8 years working on the Duke of Buccleuch's estate and earned himself a reference that testified both to his skills and his moral character. Wilhelmina and Walter were married in December 1861 and soon after began preparations to emigrate to Otago. They paid their own fares and set sail from Greenock on the Grasmere in April 1862, along with one of Walter's brothers. Wilhelmina kept a diary during the 4-month voyage that reveals both her strong religious beliefs and her great fondness for her family and home at Overcassock. Such feelings must have made it hard to leave Scotland, knowing, as she writes, that she would never meet her loved ones again. But the greater opportunities that seemed to be available in Otago trumped that. On arrival, the Riddells first stayed in the immigration barracks and then rented a house with their fellow passengers, the Roys. But finding the weekly rental of 25 shillings a very steep price, the two families bought some land in Smith Street and built a house of their own with 2 separate entrances. In 1864, Walter bought a block of land at Peggy's Hill on Otago Peninsula, achieving one of the great goals of immigrants from rural backgrounds, to own land of their own. He and Wilhelmina named their farm Ivybank and set about clearing the land, farming dairy cows and raising 11 children. Their struggles are well described in a diary that Walter kept in this period, a copy of which is also in the museum collection. At the start of 1866, Walter wrote, "If God grant me health, I will be a clear man," meaning his debt, "in another year. I have increased in the year that has passed a house, an acre of land cleared, 15 hens, 2 cows, and a son." To help achieve their goals, he worked at his old trade as a joiner, drawing the plans and building the Presbyterian church here at Pukehiki and the manse at Highcliffe. He actually milled and felled timber from his own farm for the job, and also made these furnishings. In 1871, Walter was appointed foreman of works at Larnock Castle, where he worked for the next 10 years, during which he built this famous hanging staircase. He was also a founder of the Otago Peninsula Cheese Factory Company, based here at Springfield Farm in Highcliffe, which was New Zealand's first dairy company cooperative. He was also the driving force behind the establishment of the Taieri and Peninsula Milk Supply Company. In 1892, he became manager of its factory in central Dunedin. About 1901, he and Wilhelmina moved to the company manager's house on the factory site at 7 Great King Street, now occupied by the Countdown Central car park. Walter was respected as an authority in the dairy industry until his retirement in 1914. One of the difficulties we face in telling the story of pioneer couples like Wilhelmina and Walter is recovering details of women's lives in 19th century sources. With Wilhelmina, we have some insight into her character through the diary she kept aboard the Grasmere in 1862. But after that, she very much disappears into Walter's shadow. Bearing 11 children and keeping hearth and home together were massive achievements, of course, but we know very little about how Wilhelmina felt about those sorts of things. One thing we can be confident about, however, is her satisfaction with her choice of a life partner in the boy next door she'd married back in Eskdale Muir in 1861. Together, Walter and Wilhelmina built a successful life for themselves in Otago and set up their numerous children to follow their own aspirations. One son, for example, became a stipendiary magistrate, something that would have been hard to imagine had they stayed back in Dumfriesshire. Wilhelmina died in Dunedin in 1909, aged 72. Walter survived her until 1922 when he died, aged 84.